Do animals reincarnate?
Yes, all the time.
Do they reincarnate like as a cat if they were a cat, or as a dog, or does like a dog come in as a horse?
They can switch species if they want. It's really like what they want to do in their next life. Typically, when an animal reincarnates into someone's home, there's signs and synchronicities. Like the way you found the animal had lots of signs and synchronicities. Like you found them on your anniversary of you and your husband or something. Little things like that will happen when you're finding them. And then when you have them back, it's a different life and different genetics and different life lessons. So it's not an exact clone of them, but they'll still do like little things. Like they might sleep in the same spots, or they might get excited to see the same friends that you have. There's definitely signs that it is your animal.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Julie Ryan Show. It's where we blend spirituality and practicality to help you live a life of purpose and joy. We have Laura Stinchfield with us on the show today. Laura is an animal communicator, translator, teacher, and guide. She works with pet owners, trainers, veterinarians, and all kinds of rescue groups. I got a bunch of questions for Laura, including all kinds of behavior and medical questions, as well as the common things pets want their owners to know. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Now let's go chat with Laura. Laura, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure.
Oh, yeah. Well, my gosh, I love reading about the work that you're doing, and I've got pages of questions prepared for you. But,
Okay.
when I was getting ready for this chat, I thought, oh my God, I have so many questions. Which ones, do I need to prioritize? Because I think so many of our listeners and so many people in the world are pet lovers. And that seems to be your area of specialty. And it's just you can't talk about pets without smiling. They bring
So
so much
true.
joy. Yeah,
So true. So
absolutely.
true.
So how did you get into this business? Did you just wake up one day as a kid and say, I'm going to grow up and be a pet psychic?
No, I never, it was before the internet, so I had no idea. I mean, about pet psychics. I mean, Dr. Doolittle probably is that's about it. Um, but when I was growing up, I grew up on a horse farm, and I just thought everyone understood the animals. I just thought everyone knew what they were thinking and feeling. And it was actually kind of really difficult for me growing up because it was a time where people spanked dogs for, going to the bathroom in the house, or beat horses for not jumping. And I could not understand like why people would do that if they knew the horse had a hip problem, or the dog just didn't understand. So it actually wasn't until my early 20s that I realized I was doing anything different than anybody else. And what happened was I started to study animal training, and my teachers started to say to me, like, what are you doing? Like, you're doing something differently. The animals are coming along faster with you. They're looking at you differently. And that's when I started to really think about it. And then also around that time, somebody handed me a book by a woman named Penelope Smith, and she's sort of like a legend in the field or pioneer in the field of animal communication. And I read that and I just sort of dived in, and it just kind of came from there.
Interesting. That's so
Yeah.
true. My mother, they had a golden retriever, and she would roll up the newspaper in a roll and
It
swat
was
him
so
on the behind,
common.
like, if he
So
wasn't
common.
doing something, they'd just yell at him. I said, "Why are you yelling at this poor dog?" You
Yeah.
know, just
Yeah.
just tell him what you want him to do, and it's like that, the humans believed that they understood what they were talking about. They're not gonna go to the bathroom in the house if there's not a reason for it, for
Right.
heaven's sakes. So,
Right. It's
did you
confusing.
just the whole time you were communicating with the animals and you just really weren't realizing what you were doing? Tell us how that works. Do you have a thought and you think of the animal and it goes to the animal, and how does that feel? How's that work? How do they answer you?
Yeah, so for when I was a kid, it was more like a sense of knowing. It was just I just would could look at my dog and I just knew he had a stomach ache. But as I got older and I started to study animal communication, I really learned to break it down. So, what happens is when we're actually talking to an animal, what we're doing is we're sending the images in our head and the feelings in our bodies and our attention to the animal. And when they're talking back with us, that's exactly what they're doing as well. They're sending their images in their head, their feelings, and their feelings in their body. And so then that processes through us and everybody picks it up differently. Some people might get flashes of pictures in their mind. People might hear a little voice in their head that's talking. Some people might pick it up in their body. And you as an intuitive, you probably feel the same thing, right? You're getting it from spirit or you're getting it from clients. It's the same thing with the animals. It's just like a different frequency on that radio dial.
Yeah, I do the same thing with the
Yeah.
animals as I do with people. It's attention,
Yeah.
intention. My attention is on that animal, and I say something telepathically, and then I get an answer, and I get visuals, and I get feelings, and I get all of it, which it sounds like you do too. Interestingly enough, I had 2 snakes in my garage within 3 days a couple of weeks
Oh my
ago.
gosh, really?
And one was like this big old snake, and then the other
Yeah.
one looked like he was a junior high age snake, he was kind of a
Wow.
medium
Yeah.
snake, and they were just hanging out in my garage, like, out in the middle, and so I said to both of them, "Hey, guys, hi, great to see you, but, you need to move on. You go ahead, I need to shut my garage door, you don't wanna be trapped in here, just go ahead and move on." And I felt like Doctor Dolittle. I thought, here I am, I'm talking to these snakes, and both of them left as soon as I asked them to leave,
Isn't that amazing?
and I wasn't afraid of them at all. Somebody said, "Well, you should have killed those snakes." I said, "Why would I kill them? I mean, I'm in their territory. I built my house in their natural kingdom." But it was interesting because I thought, "Okay, 2 snakes in 3 days in my garage," and we have an upper and a lower garage. They weren't in my husband's garage, they were in my garage and on the upper level, and so I thought, "Okay, there's more of a significance here." So
I
I
think
looked up
so
the
too.
spiritual meaning of snakes because I thought, "That's so rare." I don't ever remember having a snake, and they weren't hiding in anything, not that there's a lot of things that they could have been hiding underneath my car,
Yeah.
but they were out in the open. I mean, they
Yeah.
obviously wanted me to see them.
Yeah. So
So,
what did
what
you
do you
find out? Like, what did
they
you
uh, they they signify spiritually, see if I remember this correctly, like transformation, opportunity, and affluence or something. I mean, it was all good stuff, but I think we're all trained to be afraid of snakes, back from the Garden of Eden and,
Yeah.
and all of that, but what do you get with those 2
Yeah.
snakes in my
Well
garage?
well, I do know that snakes, their transformation, right, and the shedding of the skin, and then their spiritual meaning also is, like, it's healing too, because it's the medical sign, right? So, I don't know, like, they probably came as a sign for you for some transformation you're going through or a shedding of your skin you're going through with your medical intuitive practice. That would just be, me guessing without me having, like, actually talking to the snakes, you know?
Yeah. Well, I
So,
was
but
I was the following week going to my training in Atlanta where I had people flying in from all over the world for it and all over America and Canada, and that's what I got too, that there was a connection there with the transformation stuff that was gonna happen at that training for all of those people who were attending, both my students and my graduates that were there volunteering.
that makes total sense, and that there's multiple of them, so there's, like, your students, yeah. That's so neat, that's so neat, yeah, it's like a gift from spirit to tell you it's going
Exactly.
well, and
Well, and then I don't know about you, but when something happens, I mean, I'm led, "Okay, go look up the spiritual meaning," or "Go look this up," you know, when that happens. Yeah.
well, because
So
especially when there's synchronicities, when it doesn't just happen once. when it happens over and over again, that's definitely a sign from spirit that it means something. So it's always good. I mean, we have Google at our fingertips, which is so beautiful that we can just, look it up. But also, I say, like, anytime that there's a sign from spirit, we feel ultra present to to the present moment. We're like ultra sensitive and like everything's crystal clear, and we almost feel like we're in this vortex of energy. So like when you see the snake, you're like, "Oh, wow, look at that snake." And everything sort of dies down. And then also you're calm. So you're like looking at the snakes and you're not scared and you're calm. That's definitely a sign that it's spirit driven.
Well, the other thing, and you bring in a really good point, which is the vortex, because what do snakes do is they coil, which looks like a vortex. And vortex mathematics is all over. I don't know about you, but all over the work that I do. There are vortices in healing, there are vortices when somebody's dying, there are vortices in a bunch of the other areas of woo-woo that I
Yeah,
call,
right, right.
the
Yeah,
buffet of psychicness. I never thought
yeah,
about that before, but
yeah.
it looks like a coil, which looks like a vortex of a snake when they coil up.
That's right,
Interesting.
and the snake is the kundalini energy going up too, right? Like the breath work, it coils like that. Yeah,
Ha! See? Another
yeah,
vortex. I
yeah.
never heard of vortex mathematics until
No, me
in the
neither,
last
really.
year, and
Yes.
it actually, Tesla was the one that really brought that to the forefront, and he said that its source uses the vortices, and he talks about that it's plasma energy, and it's all related, and at the center of a human nucleus of a cell is a black hole that is source in the form of a vortex.
Oh, don't you love it?
I
Gosh.
know.
Yeah,
So, lots of meanings here going on.
yeah,
So, back to when you're communicating with an animal, just give us an idea of what happens. You got a horse and you wanna talk to the horse. You wanna communicate with the horse. What do you do? Do you have to be with them? Can you be remote? How does
yeah.
all that work?
I do not have to be with them, and my business pretty much is all remote now. So, I mean, the way clients do it is very similar to the way your business works. People book online, they book a schedule, they schedule a time, and then they get an email and they have to fill out a form before. And then at the time of the call, I look at the picture of their animal. I like to have a picture and their form, which lists questions. And then what I do is before any reading, I just ask spirit to be clear and to help us be clear with the animal and to help the client to feel connected to their animal. And then I just go from there. And I like to have a picture of the pet just because then I can see their eyes. Their eyes are to me like their phone number, but I don't really need it, but I like to see it, I like to see their cute little faces. And, from there, I actually hear it in words, so what my mind does is it transfers the feelings and the images in their minds and their feelings in their bodies all into words, and then I type it out while I'm talking to the client. So I type out everything that they're saying, then I read it over. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting too when you said that you wanna see their eyes, because who said the eyes are the windows of the soul? I don't remember who said it,
I
but
don't
somebody
remember who said
famous.
it either, but it's so
Yeah.
true, like, it's so true. Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is that it sounds like you're getting information of how they're communicating. It's being translated into words, into English words in your head. I find it fascinating that spirit, whether it be an animal or a tree or a spirit in heaven or
Yeah.
a spirit that's still attached to somebody's body, that signs are the universal language. When you
Yeah.
go traveling internationally, like you might be in Heathrow Airport in
Right.
London, and you're trying to find the restroom. Well, what are you looking for? You're looking for a picture of a toilet, right? And that's what they have all over the world, regardless of what the language is. So signs and images I find are the universal language to
So,
things.
yeah. It's so true. Some people get caught up on it though, because some people are not visual. And so, like, they'll be saying, like, "I don't see pictures." Like, I don't like, if I'm teaching someone how to do it, or I'm trying to explain how they can get it back from their pet, they'll be like, "I don't see pictures. I don't know how to do that." Well, if you don't see pictures, then find other ways. Like, how do you feel in your body? Or, do you have any thoughts that just pop up into your mind? Or if you're sending it, be really clear with your words, and your mind and your body will create the feeling in the picture.
Mhm. And that's what I teach too, is we all have a way that we learn naturally, visually, kinesthetically, auditorily, direct knowing, and it's been my experience, Laura, that that's the easiest way for spirit to communicate is in our natural abilities on how we learn. So, having a technique that only uses one of those modalities doesn't make sense to me. It reminds me of back when I was in school, the kids that were left-handed were taught that they could only write with their right hand. I always thought even as a little kid, I thought, "Well, that's stupid, who cares?" And then they write with I mean, why? Why does it matter? And I think it's the same kind of a thing there. Do you believe that everybody has the ability and it's just a matter of developing and enhancing it? Or do you think that it's just something that's a gift that only like a percentage of the
That's
population has?
a tricky question. I think anyone who wants to have it has it. So if they have a desire to, and it's like it's something in their heart that they want to, and they love animals, I think definitely. There are some people who are just extremely analytical, and they have a very, very hard time like feeling it. But I also think those people don't want to. So, like, they don't want to go into this field in any way. So, but some of those people also have an unbelievable business sense and unbelievable intuition. So, I do think if you want it, you can definitely develop it.
I agree.
So, I do feel that I was meant to do it.
Mhm.
Like I came here into this, life to be able to talk to animals and to teach people about that. And I think everybody has some type of, meaning or gift that they have when they come into this life. But that doesn't mean that there's lots of people that can't talk to their animals and get information back. I think anyone like people are doing it all the time, and they're not even realizing it. Like they're sitting on the couch with their dog, and their dog is saying, "Oh, I really want to go to the mountains and hike this one trail." And then all of a sudden the person is thinking, "Oh, maybe we'll go for a hike this weekend and we'll go to this spot." And they don't even realize that their dog just told them. So I really feel it happens all the time and people aren't realizing it.
I agree, and with everything, it's the same way, and I think with babies and little kids too, before they're verbal, same thing, it's the same concept. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, I talk to babies too, that's part of my business. I don't do a lot of it, but I do, like, a couple a month or something, and they're so fun. They're so fun.
And they and I just tell people, "My god, you have the ability, everybody has it when they come in, and what a convenience to be able to communicate with your infant or your infant grandchild and find out what hurts." They're wailing in the middle of the night, and you're like, "What the heck? I just wanna go to sleep." And they've got back in the day, they had a diaper pin that had come unhooked, and they were being
Yeah.
stabbed,
Oh,
by
no,
the diaper
right.
pin or yeah, yeah. I remember that, my mother telling me that that happened with my little brother, that this kid one night woke up in the middle of the night, was just wailing. My brother John was like, "I I didn't" she said, "I didn't know what to do," and I thought, "Well, Imma change his diaper," and here was this diaper pin that was stuck
Oh,
into
he
its
probably
little
doesn't,
belly.
like, tags on his pants or anything now,
I
anything that's
know. 'Cause that was before disposable diapers, it was the cloth diapers with those big diaper pins that they used to use with that. I think this is fascinating when I learned this about you. You've had a German Shepherd Coyote mix and
Yeah.
a German Shepherd Wolf mix. Some people might be intimidated by the wild animal blood in those to pet. Did you find that it changed those dogs' behavior?
Yeah, both of those dogs I got not knowing. I thought they were German Shepherds, and I rescued both of them, so I didn't know their DNA. I didn't know what they were mixed with, and I do feel well, the first one, I don't she had more of a German Shepherd temperament than, like, a coyote. She had, like, the hunting and the prey drive and stuff, but she had more of a German Shepherd temperament, but the second one, who was the wolf hybrid, she had a lot of wolf in her. And I don't really believe in people having wolf hybrids because of it. Like, she was really stuck in between 2 different worlds, and it was a rough life for her, and it was kind of hard for me too. She taught me a lot about animal behavior and animal training, and she was definitely, like, one of my soul dogs that I was meant to have in this lifetime. But she was very difficult, and it it was it was fascinating and hard to watch her navigate the world because there were like little things like she loved children, and there was a time where she would be playing with the kids, and then someone would scream and her prey instinct would go off because that scream would elicit in a wolf, and she was high percentage wolf, so it would listen like, oh my gosh, now I should like attack. And she never attacked the kids, but she definitely got where I had to pull her away. So, and that happened at like, even with the guy with an umbrella once, we were walking by him and he, like, swung it, like, right while we walked by, and she almost, like, went and nailed the umbrella. I caught her because I knew that she was, like, reactive like that, but it was tough. But she was also incredibly fascinating because I would take her out into the woods, and with dogs, when you're teaching them how to, like, come, right, you hide from them, and then they'll, like, run by you, and, you let them get a little scared about, like, where you are, so then they have to turn around and look for you. She always knew where I was. I could never hide from her. It was, like, instant. And she knew, like, if someone was coming up the driveway, I swear she knew, like, 5 or 10 minutes before somebody showed up. Her instincts were amazing, absolutely amazing. And yes, so intuitive. And she helped me notice when there was mountain lions in the woods, bears in the woods. She knew way before my other dog. I had an Aussie at the time, and he was very savvy also. But she was her heightened sentence. It was just really fascinating. But hard, and then we take them into a neighborhood or, her element was really the woods, but we take her into it's tough, and you make them be someplace where people are driving down the road and all that noise for their sensitive ears. It was a hard life for her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was she protective of you?
She she was interesting. She was She and the other one too, the coyote shepherd, both of them knew the difference between real danger and not danger. So, like, if there was someone who was really sketchy or not right, she would get in between us and get bold. Different reactive than, like, going and, like, biting the person, but she would definitely stand her ground. I always knew if she didn't like someone because she would get bold and act very different than if someone was just strange. She knew the difference. Yeah.
How did you find out that she was part wolf and that your other dog was part coyote?
Yeah, well, both of them vets. So, the first one, the coyote one, a vet was like, "Look at her, like, look at the way she walks," and he just, like, watched her and was like, "She 100% is a coyote." Like, I've known coyote coy dogs, and she's one. So, that was just him telling me. But then with Maya, the wolf dog, she did get DNA tested, but she also I had so many problems with her, like, dog training her that I had to, like, become a dog trainer, and I was already studying, but she was so difficult, and I could not figure it out, and a vet had told me, "You know what? She looks like a wolf. I want you to take her up to this wolf rescue that was in Paso Robles." I was in California at the time. And so I took her up there and they were like, "Oh my gosh, yeah." And then we actually tracked her breeder back. So we were able I got her at a German Shepherd rescue in LA, but we were able to track back where she was bred.
She was
So
bred to be
she was
wolf German
bred, yeah,
Shepherd.
she was bred to
Why?
be yeah. They were very popular, not necessarily the shepherd wolf mix. It's kind of a harder mix because the shepherd can be aggressive and the wolf can be shy. So the two of those together are not really the best mix, but they were just breeding them. But for a while I lived in Colorado and there's like tons of wolf people sell them like Malamute wolf dogs, husky wolf dogs. They're common, more common than you would think in the like Colorado, even California area.
What's the advantage of that mix?
I think people just like to have a wild animal, you know? It's like,
Wow,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah. And I've known some really nice ones. So, like, I've known ones that have been easy. So, like, Malamute wolf dogs are a lot easier. You know, but I've known a lot that have been easier and nice. I don't want to, but I think they should stay. I don't think you should mix them.
Were they tough around other animals too? Like around other dogs and other domesticated animals, cats and dogs?
The coy dog was the first one was great with all animals. You could trust her with anything. And, the wolf dog, no, like, she wanted to, like, kill other dogs and, like, she was very, very difficult, and she was very prey driven. But I got her, like, to get along with my cats. She even got along with my bunny. So, like, I trained her to be really good, but I did not trust her with any other dog besides my own, and no animals outside the home.
Oh my gosh, fascinating. When I was reading your bio, I thought, "Wow, that's interesting." Yeah. Well, and both of them are such spiritual animals too, both the wolves and the coyotes, have so much spiritual significance. My poor husband, every time there's a full moon, I'll start howling.
Oh,
And
you
a
do?
lot of the time
That's fun.
a lot of the we'll be in the car and we'll be talking
Have
about something,
fun.
then I'll notice it's a full moon, I'll just start howling. He's like, "Oh my god, you're
He
such a
doesn't
maniac."
join in. He's gotta join
No, no, no.
in.
No, he just shakes his head, after all these decades of being with me. Or or I'll be, out bringing in the bird food. I have a big bird food thingy on my, deck that's elevated, and the raccoons like to come get it. And so I bring it in at night and then put it back out in the morning, and so sometimes I'll be getting that, and our media room's down on the lower level, and it's a walkout level, and so he'll be watching some movie, and I'll just stand outside the window and start howling at him, and he'll just go, "Oh, for God's sakes, I'm married to a crazy woman."
How
I think
fun.
think it's
I
funny.
think that's fun.
Exactly, full moon, absolutely. Do animals have a body language that certainly you understand? I'd love to hear some examples of that, but I'd also love to hear some examples that those of us that aren't trained as pet communicators that we can notice that are kind of universal, like maybe with dogs or cats or horses or
Yeah.
other
So
animals.
there's a Norwegian dog trainer. Her name is Turid Rugas, and she sort of watched them and wrote a book. It's called Calming Signals on Talking Terms with Dogs. And these are calming signals, which are body language signals that all animals have. And they're used to calm themselves, communicate with other animals, and sometimes they use these body language signals to communicate with us as well. I think every pet owner or animal lover should know about them because animals use them all the time. So some of them are blinking of the eyes, looking and looking away, licking their mouth, like licking their own mouth, yawning, sitting down, lying down, stretching, kinda like that yoga down dog pose or play bow, we call it. Coming to you at an arc is one. Holding up a paw can be one. Fake sniffing can be one. Fake grooming, like a cat will, like, groom. Horses might chew. And so those are the main ones where an animal is calming themselves or communicating with another animal. Then there's lack of calming, which people should know as well. And that's like closing of the mouth, leaning on the front paws, body getting stiff, eyes staring, like ears pinning. And then from there, it can go into any fear behaviors like a fear retreat or a fear cower, or it can go into lunging, barking, snarling, whether it's fear aggression or territorial aggression. Or if they're puppies, it can go into fooling around behaviors where they're running around like crazy, just fooling around. And so I always say, like, it's really important to kind of watch a dog's mouth. So, like, you don't really want to go over to a dog with their mouth is closed and they're staring, right? If an animal has a relaxed mouth and relaxed eyes, you're pretty safe. But if they start to like stare and close their mouth, something's coming. So you just kind of want to be careful of that. And then
What
the
when you say that calming, uh, behaviors, what does that mean? That they're stressed and they're calming themselves, or they're calm and it's okay for you to approach them?
Yeah, good. It can be both. It can be both. Yeah, so either they're stressed and they're calming themselves. So, like, let's say you have a dog and you're like petting its face, right? And the dog doesn't want you to pet its face because they don't know animal really loves you to be petting their face, unless like strangers. But so they'll kind of like look at you and then look away, look at you and then look away, or they'll lick or yawn, and they're kind of trying to tell you, hey, I don't really like you know, and it might get faster and more repetitive. Different than if you're petting them and they're going, like that's different. If they're like, like really enjoying it. But if they're starting to like look and look away, they're uncomfortable and they're trying to tell you. Or like some people say, like, I'm talking to my animal and they're not looking at me, they're turning away from me. Well, they're turning away from you because when we're sending our energy towards another animal, in animal language, being square on to an animal and having direct eye contact with them is an assertive body language. It can even be an aggressive body language. So if we're going at them and they're doing this, sometimes they're just being polite. They're just like, okay, I don't want to like come on too strong to you. So I'm going to turn and be polite. So you usually see that a lot when people are calling their dog and they're like, come, and they're getting like upset, or it's like an emergency and the dog's not coming, or they're getting frustrated. And so that person is getting bolder. You'll see the dog kind of turning to the side, or they might fake sniff and come at an arc. And then the people are thinking, oh my gosh, he's just ignoring me even more. He's sniffing and coming at me slow. He's not coming directly at me. But what the dog is actually saying is, whoa, you're being super intense. Like, I don't mean you any harm. Look, see, I'll come at you slowly. See, my shoulders to you. I'm not directly at you. I'm averting my gaze.
Interesting. You're bringing to mind my late dog, Katie, who was half Keeshond, half German Shepherd. Like Malamute, had a lot of hair. She's beautiful, lot of hair. And it was so funny, Laura, because there was this cat across the street, and I always think of the kids' cartoons where the dogs chase the cats, and the dogs are they're the alphas in that relationship. Well, Katie would sit in the driveway, and the cat would be, like, across the street, hunched down, and Katie would sit, and she'd be watching the cat out of her peripheral vision. And I was thinking, What are you, like a sissy dog? What are you
Yeah.
doing?"
Well,
It was hilarious.
she might be paying attention to the cat. Like if the cat's staring at her, she's turning away to say, like, I don't mean you any harm, which is sweet. Right?
That's what it was, and then the other thing
Yeah.
was she hated the UPS truck.
Oh no.
Oh my god. When the UPS truck would come, and I think it was the sound of the engine and the wheels or something, but boy, if she got outside, we'd let her down the deck, she'd go flying up our lower drive, I mean, like it supersonic speeds and go out there and bark. We haven't had an electric fence, so she didn't go out of the yard. But what was that? Was that sound hurting her ears or what was
It could have
she
been,
knew.
yeah, it could have
She'd
been.
go nuts
Yeah.
when the UPS truck was
Yeah,
nearby.
it could have been. I mean, it could also be the shepherd instinct of her if he ever came up to the door and, like, threw things against the door, so it's just like, who is that guy that just, like, slams on the door and leaves? You know? But it could be all sorts of things. Yeah,
My
it could be a
crazy
few things.
husband, Tim, one
Yeah.
time, he was doing something, he thought the UPS guy just, put something down and gotten back to his truck, and he didn't look outside first, and he opened the door and he goes, "Okay, Katie, get him." This poor UPS guy, he just about had a heart attack
Oh,
because
no.
she would never hurt anybody, but, oh my
She
god, it
wouldn't.
was like
Yeah,
she
yeah.
would,
She probably
bite
looked
their leg
scary.
off.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was
She
hysterical.
barked at him, though? Did she bark at
Oh,
him?
she went
Mm.
flying out that front door and was
Oh,
barking,
yeah.
and he ran back to his truck, and I said, "Nice going, Tim. I mean, that was pretty awful that you did that to that poor guy." So, yeah, we just kept her inside, but inevitably, I'd be on some important conference call, and the UPS truck would drive by, and she'd start going nuts, in the background, and I'd have to mute myself. I always wondered what was going on with that. The only thing I could figure was it was her ears. That it
Yeah, it
was
could
hurting her
definitely
ear.
be her ears too. It could be. It could be.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I have 5 dogs, and they're funny with the UPS and all the guys that come to the door now. They know when it's a new driver. So if it's a driver they know, which they don't know, they only gonna know them through the window. They won't bark so much, but if it's a new driver, they're all barking like crazy. It's so funny that they're, like, just making sure he knows they're in there.
yeah. I love the videos online where those guys, the delivery, the FedEx and UPS guys have treats for the dogs. I think, "Now that's smart." And those dogs, they go out and they wait for 'em, and the driver got a treat for 'em. So they've got that as well. So when an animal doesn't feel well, are there certain signs that they can convey to those of us that are not well versed in this, that we know, okay, if their ear hurts, are they pawing at their ear? If they have stomach distress, this is what's going on. Any of those kinds of things?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can answer that in a few different ways. So, one, like, I usually tell my animals if something's wrong, just to keep telling me over and over and over again. And people can tell their own animal that too. Like, if something's wrong with you, just make sure you tell me over and over and over again, and I'll pick it up. So what can happen is animals will send it to their people, and their people might pick it up in their body. So for instance, like, let's say an animal has, like, teeth pain, all of a sudden the person's teeth might bother them. Or if an animal has shoulder pain, sometimes a person's shoulder will hurt. And the same with the stomach or the ear, or even like heart problems can show up in the person. And I've seen it so much as people go and they get diagnosed with something, or they're like, oh, I've got something wrong with my teeth. And it turns out that the animal has been sending it to them so often that it is then the people, because we're empathetic towards our animals and we love them, and we're picking it up in our bodies, and then it starts to manifest in our own bodies. So if something's going on with you, and if something's kind of happened like almost suddenly, or it's even if it's been chronic, I'd kind of check your animal out too and see if something's going on with them. So that's one way. Another way, like, one of the most common things, especially for older dogs, is acid reflux. And they often, like, a lot of older dogs need like a little snack before bed so that they don't wake up in the middle of the night and have like that acid stomach. And so you might see them panting, or they might be licking their lips or licking the bedding. Licking the bedding's a big one, or licking their paws. If it gets really bad, they might do it like a hacking noise. Um, and so that's like a really good one to know. Sometimes if the dog is like bugging, or cats even too, are bugging you for food or waking you up in the middle of the night and bark at you, or they're like, or or the cats are like pawing at you in the middle of the night and you think, oh, they just want food. It might be that they have that acid in their stomach and they actually literally need something in their stomach. So that's something to look for. The other one that I notice a lot that people misinterpret is so animals when they love us, they'll often kind of roll into us, right? They'll push their heads into us or whatever. But sometimes when an animal has an earache or a headache, they'll also kind of push in and they'll kind of hold it for a little bit. If you really focus on your animal, you'll notice the difference. There's like a little bit more pain in the eye. There's a little, just like if you're looking at a person and they kind of look like they're squinting, like how you would have like a headache and, the dogs will do or the cats too, they'll kinda push their head into your hand, or they'll bury their head into a pillow, or they'll go into the closet, they'll go someplace dark if they had a headache. And headaches are common with ear infections and also teeth problems. So you'll see that too. I really think that what people should really do, and this is very different than the telepathy, because the telepathy is one way to communicate with them. But then also, if you really wanna be the best pet owner you can be, it's really important to just get off your phones and really just observe your animals. Like, don't you don't need to call them over to you. You don't need to, like, play with them at certain times, but just watch them. Like, watch how they're walking. Watch the things that they're doing, and if you're really present with them, you'll be able to pick up on things that are happening to them. Like sometimes the animals will say to me things like, oh, my back knee hurts me or my back hip hurts me. And people will say, no, like he's 3 years old and he's jumping like crazy. But we all know if you've had a border collie or a cattle dog, like they could be running through pain. So then I tell people, okay, well, just kind of watch your animal, like watch, like, do you notice like when they're standing waiting for their dinner or they're standing to go out the door, are they putting full weight on all legs? And if you're really focused, you might see that little shift where they're off that leg. So just watch them. Just watch them. Yeah, bunny hopping is another one. Like if the animal's running and it starts to bunny hop, that could be pain in the hind end, even if they're going full out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. My, son Jonathan and his wife Mallory, who's a veterinarian, and sometimes I'll refer to her, I'll say, "Okay, I'm seeing this and this and this with this animal, and I'm getting that it's this, this, this. Does this make sense to you?" So we'll go back and forth, her from the medical side and me from the psychic side, and then she'll ask me sometimes, to scan one of her pets or somebody else just kind of as a second opinion kind of a thing, but their cat Garfield is just hilarious. I mean, his name is perfect. When company comes, that cat will open a kitchen cabinet door and hide
Oh,
inside the
wow.
cabinet,
Oh my gosh,
and
how cute is that?
and and then they're like,
He's so
"Okay, where's
smart.
Garf?" But we not too long ago, she was defrosting chicken or something in the sink, and he got the bag, carried the Ziploc bag with the chicken, and it was, like, marinating in garlic and something else, took it, dragged it all the way into their bedroom, went under the bed, got the bag open, and started to eat the chicken, and so
Oh
she
my
about had a
gosh.
heart
He
attack,
is like a Garfield, isn't he?
was
Smart little
oh my gosh.
dude.
It's just I'll find him inside the washing machine, he'll jump inside the washing machine and stuff like that. Why is it that some cats and dogs and then their dog, I call him trash dog, that dog's name's Rooney, and he's 15, and he's just a trash dog. If there's trash around, that dog's gonna eat it. So, why is that with some animals do that and others don't? Is it just that, again, they're not eating enough? Is it just their personalities? What's going on with
Well,
that?
yeah, it's so great. Multiple reasons. Again, like, I mean, you could go that they're missing something nutritionally, right? But like Garfield's hunting. That's a hunting instinct, right? Like he's taking it and then he's taking it away. So, like, he could be hiding it, right, but that's also very much of a hunting instinct. So there's a part of him that's like a little hunter. It's so cute. Yeah, and then they're just like people, like, some of them have real they love foods, they're foodies, and others aren't, like, I have a poodle, he's not a big eater, I mean, he likes his treats, but he's just not a big eater, he just it's not that he has a bellyache or anything, he's just not a big eater, and then I've got another one that, oh my gosh, he'll eat anything. So,
We
yeah.
They came in one time from being gone, and Garfield, who's a pit mix, like pit lab mix, he's got a really broad chest and stuff, and now he's all gray because he's an old man, he's 15, and if his mama wasn't a vet, I don't know that he'd still be with us, but he came in one time, and he had gotten into the trash, and it had one of those flip lids, that went back and forth, that swung back and forth. He'd gotten into the trash, and the lid of the trash can was around his neck. He couldn't figure out how
Oh
to
my
get it
gosh,
off,
he is so funny.
and so when they walked in, he's looking at me
Is he
looking at him like,
fat? Is he a big
"What?"
eater? Is he fat?
Oh, yeah, loves food, but she sent us a picture. She and Jonathan sent a picture, and it was no, it was Rudy going, "What? What are you looking at?" I mean, it's like no big deal. I got this trash can head, the lid, how you have the
So
rim that
cute.
fits
Yeah.
onto the can itself, which is
Oh,
hilarious for that.
I
Yeah.
love it.
When a dog or an animal is transitioning, and so many pet owners, by the way, Dr. Mal calls her pet owners her humans, and her animals are her patients. She'll say, "Well, I was talking to one of my humans, who brought their cat in," which I think is hilarious. They, the pets 9 times out of 10 tell me when their humans or their owners ask, "How will I know that it's time that you wanna be put down?" And the answer I hear the most is when they can't control their bowels.
Mm.
Have you
Mm.
heard them that? Have you gotten other
Oh, that's interesting.
information?
Yeah, there are some animals that definitely say that that is when people know. The other times it's just the animals are like people too in the fact that like some can endure an awful amount of suffering and others can't. So sometimes animals don't feel that bad and they're like, you know what? Like, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to go through that. And they'll tell their people just by like saying it. I tell the animals to tell their people over and over and over and over again. And it just becomes this like nagging feeling that people have that like, oh God, they're ready. And then I'll also say to people, it's like if you're really watching your animal, right? Like when does their suffering outweigh their joy? So when like going throughout the day, your animal's not looking happy anymore. They just look as if they're suffering. And animals are really interesting because they're like people on the fact too that some of them are really spiritual. They really get it. They're like, "Okay, like, I'm already, like, meditating on the afterlife or meditating on the other side." Like, I feel connected to, like, angels and just this feeling of love, this vastness of love. Like, even if they're not dying, some of them just feel like that, like, they feel connected. And others are very like, "What do you mean? Like, what is that?" Like, they'll see their dead friend who passed away and they're confused. They're like, "I don't know, like, is that a memory that's coming up? Like, why do I see him? Why do I see my deceased, dead friend in the house? Like, I don't get that." So, it's important for us to talk to our animals about the afterlife, about, like, whatever we believe in heaven, like maybe get a kid's book and read about like all dogs go to heaven or whatever it may be. And just really talk to the animals about like where they're going so that they're not scared and that the animals can watch over us once they're there. But it can really it can be hard for people because some animals will say like, I just want to wait until like my bowels go or that I don't eat anymore. And then that's how they know, like, oh, I just knew like my animal loves to eat and then he's not eating. So I knew that that was it. But then some animals will eat and pee and poop till that very end, you know? So, um, yeah, it really is to just really watch them and they'll tell you. And if you feel okay, I mean, nobody wants to help their animal go. It's the worst thing ever. But if you feel like I don't want my animal to be suffering, then the animal will know that and they'll let you know when they're ready. Yeah.
I I hear so often from clients and people that call into my show who have euthanized their pet, and then they feel so guilty afterwards, and they're saying, "Did I make the right thing?" And we'll talk with their pet, and the pet is like, "Yeah, thank you God, you stopped the suffering." But what do you say to those people when they're considering euthanizing, but they don't feel like it's really their place to end their
Yeah.
animal's life.
It's a
How do
tough, yeah, it's tough because we are acting like God in a way, right? Like we are taking their life, and that's something that you do kind of have to, like, live with once you do it, because people do feel really, really guilty after the fact. But what happens is, like, if we can think of it this way, that where they like, we're doing it out of love, right? So, it's very, very rare that an animal is mad at us that we've helped them. And if we're focused on our animal and we go to euthanize them, that animal, they know what's gonna happen, right? And they may be scared, like, I always kinda say it reminds me of the feeling of, like, jumping off a high dive or jumping off, like, a big rock into a lake or something. Like, there's a fear when you're about to go, even for all of us, but it's you're still feeling drawn to it. And and if an animal does not knows that they're going, like, you don't wanna sneak up on it, like, you want them to know, like, "We're gonna help you to go to heaven," like, you wanna tell them, like, "This is what's happening," and say goodbye to them and, like, maybe even have a party for them, like, give the tell them, like, really, like, "This is what we're planning to do so that you don't suffer." They know, and if the animal doesn't want that, you will know, like, that animal will be very uncomfortable, and even the vet will be like, "I don't think it's the right time." It will be so evident because the animal will say, "I'm not ready," and I know people who've then seen that and then take their animal away. If your animal goes peacefully, they were ready. And sometimes, I mean, this is good for people to know too. It's really tough. Like sometimes that one of the injections stings when they go in, and it doesn't happen all the time, but so sometimes, like, the animal will jerk, like, when they get one of the injections, and then people cannot get that out of their head. Like, it's so traumatizing for them, but it's just like a little pinch and then it goes away. It, like, dissolves itself. So, just kinda if anyone's watching and they've ha or listening to this and they've had that happen to them, it's not a feeling that stays with them. And it doesn't happen every time. Um,
I have a friend that had her dog euthanized and wasn't with her when it happened, and she regretted that so much, and she said, "I will never do that again. If I'm euthanizing one of my pets, I'm gonna be in
mm.
there,
It is
and I'm gonna be
so
with them."
it is so nice to be with them and they know that you're there. Like even when they're fast asleep from that first injection, they know that you're there. But I can also tell you this, that even if you're not with them, they have a sense that you're there. So like let's say there's someone who's like, I cannot do it. Like I cannot go in that room. Like you take my animal, like I literally cannot be in there. It's just like too hard for me. If that person goes out to their car or they leave the vet's office or wherever they go and they still are loving their animal, like, love transcends space and time. So when that animal goes, whenever any of us are leaving, the veil gets thinner. So that that animal will still have an experience of your love being with them. You don't need it's nice, don't get me wrong, it's nice to be there in person, But if you can't do it, there is something magical that will always happen when your animal leaves. Whether it's your love is transcending countries because you're in another country, or you're in the car and they're in the vet's office, or you're driving to the car and they're in the back seat of the car because you're in an emergency. That animal will feel your love and they will feel love from the other side. No one dies without love around them. It just does not happen. Even if our life is feeling chaotic at the moment of their death, they still are met with love. That transition is love.
I agree, and I can tell when an animal is dying because their spirit exits through the top of the head as I perceive it, and it looks like a cartoon caption bubble or a speech bubble, and it's attached to the top of the head. The same thing happens with humans. Humans are surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets as they're transitioning. I don't see that in my mind's eye with the animals where they're surrounded by, like, their litter mates and, and dog angels, like dogs with angel wings, and but but I think that they're surrounded by their loved ones and other entities and love in general. So I
Yeah.
agree
Well, and our
with that.
ancestors even come for them, like our great grandparents or our friend that died when we were in high school. Like our loved ones come for them. Like people who are watching over us, who are on the other side, and they see us suffering and our animal going, they come. Those Italian grandmas with their meatballs, they are there. Like,
Have
yeah.
you witnessed that or have you
Oh,
experienced
yes.
that?
Oh, yes, like, all the time, all the time. Yeah,
Tell us
all the
about
time.
that.
Yeah, so, I mean, just today, like, I was talking to a cat that passed away. He had gotten hit by a car in the middle of the night, and they found his body in the morning, and, um, and the cat said, "Oh, like, I'm with this woman who it." Well, first he said that he didn't he got was confused at first when he first passed because he got hit by the car, but then he said he traveled in a ray of sunlight, even though it was at nighttime, he traveled in a ray of sunlight to heaven. And then he said, "Oh, even now, there's a woman here, and she has a long couch with a knitted blanket on the couch, and there are other animals on the couch, and she's petting me, and I'm on the back of the couch." And the woman said, "Oh, that's my friend that I know. She used to have a couch with knitted blankets on it." And so her friend came, and then later on, he said, "Yes, and also there's this grandma woman here, and she has these really comfy socks on, and she's stretching out on the floor." And she said that her mom, died of cancer, and that's the grandma, and she always wore socks around. And, and that she was stretching out because she had cancer and she was, like, feeling better, in her body, so she was, like, stretching and feeling good. So, yeah, I mean, they're always I had, like, one said, like, "I'm I'm I'm flying to heaven in the smell of bacon," and then there's, like, the guy's friend who's, like, an old friend that he used to hang out with or rode motorcycles with is, like, there with the bacon for the dog. So,
Funny. I
uh,
love it. Reminds me of that
yeah.
TV commercial, "Get some bacon," of it was animated. Do you remember that? That would maybe it might have been,
I never watched a
you're
lot
too
of
young.
TV, so that's probably why, but
No, when I
funny.
was a kid, it
Yeah,
was like
oh, okay.
some ad for bacon bits or something, and they had this animation thing of this big old hound dog, and the mom would be going shopping, and the dog would yell out of the car, "Buy some bacon," which was hilarious.
That's
Yeah.
funny though, but I do remember that bag with the dog on it, so I could see the
Yeah,
commercial.
yeah, absolutely. Have you witnessed and do you believe that animals can see spirits?
Yes, yeah. So a lot of times they do see spirits, yeah. And they're just like us, where some of us are like, "Oh my gosh," they're totally into it and they like see the angels and they see all types of different beings or I had a client who was really into, like, yoga and Buddhist, and there was, like, all these, like, saints and, like, Buddhist figures around her, and the dog would see them, and the cats would see them, so that's really common, but like I said, some of them are confused, like, "What is that?" Like, "That's scary, I don't know what that is."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's been my experience, and I've heard this from a whole bunch of people that they'll be just watching TV one night or something, and their dog or cat will just, like, be looking at something, and then they'll move their head like they're watching somebody cross the room, and the humans are going, I'm not seeing anybody, but Fido actually is, or, Fluffy the cat is."
Oh, I had a yeah, this is a funny one because this was this week too. I had a cat that said, that they saw an angel, and I said, "Well, what did the angel look like?" And they said it had a human body, but a cat head and paws for hands, but it had a human body and it had a tail. I thought that was funny.
Cute. Sounds like a cat food
I always
mascot,
every
doesn't
time
it?
yeah, every time they say that they see an angel, I'm like, "What does that look like? What's an angel to you?" It's very different.
Well, and that makes sense because we're gonna interpret things as we perceive them based on our human frame of reference, so the cat was doing it based on their cat frame of reference, but it it sounds like a mascot for little Friskies or something that'd be on a can of cat food or something like that, which is hilarious. When a person is dying and is in the last phases of transition, I'll see their pets around them in spirit, their pets that are in spirit, and I'll see even farm animals around people, and I'll like horses and chicks and ducks and
Love
pigs
it.
and cows and
Yeah,
stuff
I
like that.
love it.
And so I'll say, "Did your grandmother grow up on a farm, or does she live on a farm now?" And they'll say, "Yeah," and then I'll describe what the animals look like to them, and they'll say, "Oh, that's Bessie, her cow, that's Charlie, her
Oh,
horse, that's"
wow.
yeah, "Sarge, her German Shepherd, her black German Shepherd," and it's really comforting to the family how the pets are there. And the animal lovers get a lot of comfort knowing that their animals are gonna be with them, as they're transitioning and also in heaven. Do animals reincarnate?
Yes, all the time. So often they reincarnate. Yeah, it amazes me how often.
Do they reincarnate, like, as a cat if they were a cat or as a dog, or does, like, a dog come in as a horse or what?
They can switch species if they want, they can switch sex if they want. It's really, like, what they wanna do in their next life, you know? But I see it all the time and it really is fascinating. And typically when an animal reincarnates into someone's home, there's signs and synchronicities. Like the way you found the animal had lots of signs and synchronicities. Like you found them on your anniversary of you and your husband or something, or on your birthday or your favorite song was playing on the radio when you were driving into the shelter, and you looked up at the clock and you saw 1111, and you always see that number when things are going on, happy things are going on in your life. Like, little things like that will happen when you're finding them, and then when you have them back, it's a different life and different genetics and different life lessons, so it's not an exact clone of them, but they'll still do, like, little things, like they might cross their paws the same way, or they might sleep in the same spots, or they might get excited to see the same friends that you have that like a certain way. So there's definitely signs that it is your animal.
And do you find that they reincarnate back to the same family or not necessarily? It's just kind of a catch as catch can thing.
Yeah. So typically in my work, when I see them reincarnate, they're reincarnating back into the same family, but they're my clients and those are the ones I'm talking to. So, but I'm sure that at times they're reincarnating into different lives too.
So your dogs agree. What's the strangest thing an animal has shared with you of all the animals with whom you've spoken? or communicated?
The strangest thing. Oh my gosh. I remember just when you said this isn't the strangest thing, but it was the strangest thing at the time. And so I'll tell it because uh a long time ago, I was talking to this man on the phone and his dog had passed away. And his dog told me that he was in heaven with the dog. And I thought that is so strange, right? And so I thought like what's going on here, like and she was saying like all the things that, he does that he was doing with her like in heaven. And I was really confused at the time because I thought like, okay, like what is that? Like is that like an angel pretending to be him? you know? And what I've learned over the years is that it can be all sorts of things. It could be an angel pretending to be him, but I think that's more rare. It's more that she's living in a past memory like it's present time. Like, or she is, because time is not linear there. And what more that I feel like it is that there's actually is a part of him, like a part of his spirit that can be there with her. And so when he's at home and he's thinking about her and he's like reaching for his other dog or he's reaching for a pillow or he's reaching for a picture and he's stroking that blanket or collar or whatever it is, he's actually using that as like a conduit to her. And so then she's actually feeling that on the other side, and it actually manifests as him being on the other side with her.
Mhm. Interesting. What I heard was multiple realities all happening concurrently.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shelter animals that are adopted versus purebred animals is some people feel very strongly that there are so many animals looking for a home that they wanna always have a shelter animal, and then there are others that want just a pure breed. Do you see a difference in their personalities, like the purebred ones versus the Heinz 57, mutts with lots of different.
Well, this is a really tricky subject because, like, anyone who's in rescue, oh my gosh, like, to even think about getting a pure like, not rescuing a purebred, but going to a breeder is really difficult because and I've worked in shelter, so you see so many adoptable dogs getting euthanized. So it's hard. So, I'm all for rescue. Most of my guys are rescues. But with that being said, I also have purebreds that I've got like a friend bred one of my dogs, another one I dreamt of and ended up being at a breeder. But what I say to people, if they're gonna go to a breeder, do your homework. You make sure that they are doing all the testing for, like, heart problems and hip problems and elbow problems and, like, any genetic problems and cancer markers, like, make sure you go to an excellent breeder, like, one that is just doing everything that they, need to be doing and research on what exactly that means for that breed of dog that you're getting. And then really like contact people that have gotten dogs from them and don't just look at their website because a puppy mill can have a beautiful website and really fool you. So just do not skimp on that. Like you really need to be doing your homework when you get from a breeder. And as for their personalities, I mean, I have rescue dogs that are, like, super confident and have, I think that you can it depends on each individual dog. You can take a rescue animal that's been completely abused and make them into, like, a confident, well-rounded dog. So and then you could take a dog that's been bred and completely ruin it. So, his make him fearful or whatever. So, a lot goes into, the way we interact with the dogs and how we communicate with them and how we train them. Now we feed them.
Yeah. I have a friend who his wife brought home a dog from the pound or the shelter or whatever, and and he'd always had purebred dogs, and he brought this dog in, and they called her Emma, and he goes, "That is the ugliest dog I've ever seen in my whole life. Take her back. She is just oh my god, I can't have a dog that ugly." And you know what? He'd be the first one to admit she was the smartest, most wonderful dog he ever had. His wife, my friend, said, "No, I'm not taking her back. Get over yourself." And then she was his dog from there on. She was his dog. Do animals have the ability to help their humans heal, both emotionally and medically or physically?
Of course, yeah, like, to help them heal, like, medically? Um, Emotionally, 100%. Medically, uh, yes, but I think they're exceptional animals. They're like animals that are like brought to us from spirit and they are just radiating love and they just teach us to reach that frequency where we can heal, right? So definitely, I definitely feel that they can. Like Stormy, I sent you my Stormy's words of wisdom, in my book. This is one of my books. Stormy's Words of Wisdom, and he was one of those dogs. He was just so connected to spirit, and just when people were around him, they just felt better, and he would give people little wise advice, and so 100%, like, I felt like he was healing people and me too, So definitely, I do think that we have those animals, but it's also up to us to self-regulate our own energy and to be really thinking about like where is health and healing? What frequency is that? And where are our thoughts and our emotions? Like where are they residing? Are they residing in health? Are they residing in trauma? And if we reside in health and healing, we're going to be able to get there. And our animals help us so much. Like I say to our animals, your only job is to listen to your people and to play and have fun. And because if we watch our animals play, we get happier ourselves, and that creates healing in our bodies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what makes me think of healing with animals are the equine programs. I have a dear friend who's a psychologist, and she has an equine therapy program that she uses with some of her patients and clients, and she said it's remarkable how effective it is. And then I know of equine, operations where somebody with cancer or some other disease will go and the horses like, if somebody has lung cancer, the horse will put their muzzle right up next to the chest, on the side where the cancer is, because I know I've read that they can smell the cancer. Yeah, and other illnesses like, bomb dogs are taught to smell things, but that these animals do the same thing too, and it's really helpful with that. Couple more questions. I could talk to you all day, but couple more questions as we're winding down here. What is T-touch?
Oh, T-touch is it's a for lack of better wording, it's a form of massage, a form of touch, and, it actually helps to calm an animal down, and what you do is you actually push the skin around in a circle, so it's a circle and a quarter, and it helps to bring awareness to the animal's body, and there's all different touches that you can do, but it helps to connect the animal, the human to the animal, and then the animal to their body. So, for instance, if an animal is stressed, you can go and do the T touches on the animal, and the animal will, you know, become more centered and more calm and more connected to their body and more grounded. And they've actually done studies on that actual touch that it does work their nervous system better than just kind of touching in a random way. It's 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 it is kind of like doing pressure points all throughout the body. Yeah, and it's the intention. Back when Linda first developed it, she also talked which is Linda Tellington Jones is the one who developed the T-touch. sh- we there was also a very like healing element to it that like you touch around wounds and touch around parts of the body that were hurt to help heal them. And I don't know so much if they're saying that anymore, just maybe because of the FDA or whatever, like out there, but 100%, like, I would say that it heals animals as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more practical question, and then one more woo-woo question. So the practical question is, when we come upon a dog that we don't know and that doesn't know us, I've heard about stay still, let the dog come to you. I've also heard stay still, put your hand out with the palm down so that they can smell you. Are there any practical pieces of advice you
Yeah,
can
like,
share?
I would say just be relaxed and watch their eyes and see, are their eyes staring at you or are they relaxed, You can put the back of your hand towards them to let you sniff. You can actually stroke them with the back of your hand. You want to be careful about not coming square to an animal and then like stroking with both hands. People do that all the time to animals. It's so rude to like touch the animal with two hands, especially when like Hudson, he's a big German Shepherd and he's really fluffy. One of my dogs. People want to like they gravitate to him because he's so beautiful. And then they want to like put their hands all over him. He's fine, but another dog would bite you if you did that. So, you just kinda wanna watch their eyes and their mouth. That's the biggest thing, and approach them from the side. You don't wanna go, like, square up to them. You wanna kinda have your shoulder to them, and kinda look at them and then look away, look at them and then look away. But if you're watching their facial expressions, with a relaxed eye, you'll be able to see, like, are they nervous? Are they staring at you with their mouth closed? Might wanna back up a little bit, Um, but I think that's probably the best is to go to them slowly, aware, with a relaxed body and a relaxed eye. And just
How about
watch.
dogs that wanna jump all over you when you walk into their house or you see them, on the street? How do you deal with that? I've got a neighborhood dog named Thor. Is that a great name? And Thor just wants to jump all over me
Yeah.
when
Oh my
he's
gosh. But in a happy way? He's
yeah,
happy?
yeah, he's
Yeah, yeah.
excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would stick my thumb in his collar and hold him down so that he can't jump and be at his side and really calmly stroke him slowly and say hi and then see if you can get him to even if you know that he's out and if his people are okay with you carrying treats, maybe you can ask him to sit and then get him to, start training him a little bit, get him to know that when he comes to you, if he sits, maybe he gets a treat and then he gets his pets. But I'm kind of like I kind of because I used to be a dog trainer, and not to say that my guys are perfect, but I, I if your dog jumps on people, I would be the one to have that dog on a leash. Why he greeted you, and they'll teach him like his people should be doing that. Yeah, because he could knock you over. He could hurt
Exactly,
you.
and he's a big dog. He's a big like a Scotty dog. I don't know what breed that is, but he's a big like a big Scotty.
And he could
Yeah.
scare people. I mean, he could really scare people or trip them up and, yeah, yeah, but as if they look friendly, see if you can grab them by the collar and then, like, just stroke on and be calm and
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good
cute.
advice.
Yeah, sweet.
Why do humans incarnate and why do animals incarnate? Last question.
I think we come back so that we can learn. I mean, so we can grow and, we can become better people, better spirits, better souls, and we can enjoy each other and we can enjoy life, swimming and communicating and love and learning how to process our anger or our sadness, whatever it may be. The same with animals. I think they come back to help people. They come back for the experience, you know? Yeah. for the experience. We come back for the experience, so we better enjoy it, make the most of it.
Oh my gosh. You are so darling and so knowledgeable, and I can't even imagine any animal not just falling madly in love with you
Oh, how
when you're
sweet.
working with them, regardless of what their species is. How can people learn more about you and your work? Tell us about your book. How can we
Y
find you?
yeah, so the best place to find me is my website, and that's thepetpsychic.com. And you can just type in Laura the Pet Psychic or Laura Stinchfield the Pet Psychic, and I'll come up. And there's lots of information there just to kind of read about me and my work. And there's a blog where you can see what other animals are saying and articles. And then there are my books, which you can get wherever books are sold. You can buy them on Amazon. And one of them is Stormy's Words of Wisdom, which are just like quotes from my late dog Stormy, which are so great. Here's one. I just opened it randomly. And he said, I had a dream I was flying in the stars. I asked myself, is this heaven? Then I heard, this is the heart of the universe. Which, what actually is interesting. I, I haven't read that in a really long time, actually, because he passed away in 2015. But I'm a big meditator now. And I was a meditator then, but not as big as I am now. And sometimes I do see the stars when I'm meditating. And that is a thing in my meditation community too, that people do see that. So I think Stormy was meditating there.
Stormy was giving you a sneak preview.
Totally. Some of the things I read, I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Like he was like I go back and I read them and I'm like, oh my God, my little Stormy, he was so wise. Uh I know, it's so cute. And then the other one is Voices of the Animals, and these are a compilation of articles that I wrote for the Santa Barbara News Press, which is in California. And it talks all about my clients and how to talk to animals, and it's just a really great book to just dip yourself into, like, what are animals thinking and feeling, and how do I talk to them, and how do I understand them better? It's just fun. You can just pick it up and read, like, the articles are not that long, so you could read it straight through or you could read it, just like one at a time. But if you wanna learn about how to talk to the animals or just about animals in general, it's a great little book to read.
Oh, wonderful. And we'll have all that information in the show notes so people can find you. All righty, everybody. Lots of information there for you to chew on. And in the meantime, sending you lots of love from Sweet Home, Alabama. Mwah! And from New York, too. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time. To enhance your spiritual journey, click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share with your family and friends.